Hi guys, and welcome to this video. I'm going to be talking about a bunch of ebooks that I got for free. I started doing this just a little bit differently as far as writing down what I got for free, because I do get an email with what books on, like for Amazon Kindle, are reduced to $0, so for free. Some of them are on Kindle Unlimited, but you do have the option to actually buy the ebook. And so if that's the case, it'll still be on Kindle Unlimited, but you can buy it for $0. If the book looks good in any way, that's what I do. So, yeah. So I finally have a whole page of a couple of different genres. I did break this up into genres as far as what the email says that they are. So this particular one is all about cozy mysteries. So for those of you who do not know, a cozy mystery is a mystery that is clean. You do not have to worry about sex. You do not have to worry about vulgar language. Now sometimes there might be, you know, a handful of like either hell, shit, or damn. That's it. Nothing worse than that. You also do not have to worry about graphic scenes as far as body dismemberment and murder. So it's very mild. It's very cozy, if you will. So yeah, so these are all cozy mysteries, and I have a whole bunch of genres to go through. Some of them I'm not going to do until I have a full page. For example, I have a full page of mystery, of thriller, so I'm going to do those. I have 10 on a page of steamy romance. I'm almost to a full page of sweet romance. There's also generic romance, romantic suspense, historical romance, historical fiction, literary fiction, paranormal, sci-fi, western, LGBT. There's a whole lot. So I have a lot of pages, but some of these I will not get to until the page is filled. Unless I decide to do it at like half a page. Because some of these I only get on the email like one recommendation, if that, for particular genres. So this one's again all cozy mysteries, and sometimes there's overlap. So sometimes when I'll be looking at the mystery, there might still be some cozy mysteries sprinkled in there, but according to the email, these ones are all cozy mysteries. So let's go ahead and delve right on in. So first up, I have The After Hours Deception. So book number 1 is The After Hours Deception by Patti Larsen. This is book number 1 in the Masquerade Inc. series. This one has 292 ratings with an average of 4.2. And let's see, the synopsis reads: Petal Morgan finds herself at 28, not only without any sort of compass leading her to her lifelong dream she has yet to identify, not to mention the student loans stacking up against her. How much education is too much? Now perched on the edge of bankruptcy while accepting with the shame that comes from failure, taking over the unfinished apartment over her parents' garage. But when an unexpected encounter with an old friend leads her to the kind of job she never expected, she not only uncovers her talents, but a dead body to boot. Deception has never been so lucrative. Welcome to Masquerade Inc. Cozy Mysteries. So, there's that. Number 2, I have True Blue Murder. And this is written by Elise M. Stone, M like murder, Elise M. Stone. This is book number 1 in the African Violet Club Mystery Series. 286 ratings with an average of 3.93. This one says, Liliana Wentworth expects the first annual African Violet Club show and sale at the Rainbow Ranch retirement community to be thrilling. The former librarian has developed her first hybrid, a plant with unusual deep blue flowers, and hopes to win a first place ribbon, maybe even best in show. But her excitement turns to dread when the aggravating Bet Tesselink, her fiercest rival, turns up dead, and she becomes the logical suspect. There's never been a murder in the village of Rainbow Ranch, and it soon becomes apparent that the young chief of police is in over his head. And that tends to be the common denominator or thread in cozy mysteries. Body, suspect, police over their head, or don't do a good job investigating. Anyway, under pressure from the mayor, Liliana is afraid he'll arrest her in order to close the case. Her only option is to begin her own investigation and find the murderer before she winds up in jail. That's your standard cozy mystery plot. So, okay. Up next, we have Deadly Gamble by Connie Shelton. This is book number 1 in the Charlie Parker series. 4,801 ratings with an average of 3.74. And this one says, it's a debut mystery series. Let's see. Charlie Parker, accountant and partner in an Albuquerque private investigation firm, is visited by her old school friend Stacy North. Stacy's Rolex watch is missing, and she begs Charlie to help locate it before her husband finds out. Things are complicated by the fact that Stacy has been seeing another man, Gary Detweiler, and he's the one she suspects of having stolen the watch. With a little detective work, Charlie and her sidekick dog Rusty retrieve the missing watch, and all should be well. But 3 days later, Detweiler is murdered. All eyes turn to Stacy as the prime suspect. Once again, Stacy begs Charlie's help in proving her innocence. As she begins to ask questions, Charlie learns that Detweiler's life was not as simple as first perceived, and that any number of people had grievances against him. And before she can pinpoint the killer, her own life is in danger as well. So, I'm just having trouble with some of the words today. Okay. Next up is called Hot Flush by Rosie Fenwick. 197 ratings with an average of 4.02. This is book number 1 in the Euphemia Sage Chronicles. I'm sure I said that wrong. So this one says, superpowers should not be wasted on the young. Euphemia Sage, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Euphemia Sage watched helplessly as Jane, covered in blood, clutched her precious jewelry and was bundled into the Mercedes. Just a few days earlier, she discovered that Allison, her mousy receptionist at Sage Consulting, had been working as a loan shark on the side. And now Allison, her husband, and those thick-necked men in the cheap suits wanted the money back. When a desperate Jane had come to Euphemia, of course she had to help. After all, wasn't this what she was supposed to do? Euphemia had waited more than 20 years to find out if the story in the mysterious letter she'd received on her 30th birthday was true. So when at 53, her first hot flush triggered a genetic switch and gave her unexpected powers, she felt more than ready to save Jane and deal to Allison. But what had seemed simple suddenly became complicated when Allison produced a gun. So we definitely have an older protagonist in this book. So that is good. Okay. Up next, I have the case. I wanted to say castle. The Case of the Haunted Hotel by B.I. Skinner, like Bravo India Skinner. 147 ratings with an average of 4.2. And that's one thing I notice about cozy mysteries, whether they're lower in the amount of ratings or higher, they tend to be a very high 3-star or like a low 4-star rating. Cozy mysteries tend to have pretty good star ratings in case that's something that you're interested in. This one says, an angry and reluctant ghostwriter learns the hard way that the jewel thief isn't the only evil she must confront. She'll have to defeat the ghosts from her past as well to save her new town. Orphaned, widowed, secret spirit communicator Holly Daniel has anger management issues, to say the least. Longing for a normal life in a quiet mountain town, she packs up her things and moves west. But when she discovers her new home is haunted by a 143-year-old granny in a flannel nightgown and a talking ghost cat, she thinks moving to Glenwood Springs was a mistake. Things are looking up, however, when she convinces the manager of the local haunted hotel to hire her as a bartender. But there's a catch. She has to use her secret gift as a ghost whisperer to solve the mystery of the missing tiara or face the demise of the beloved historic hotel? Can she solve the case and deal with the ghosts that haunt her past, or is she doomed to struggle forever? So that sounds pretty good. Okay, up next, we're just going to move right through these because otherwise this is going to be a very, very long video. Now this one, the one thing I have noticed with these emails, even though I go to Amazon, sometimes it doesn't always indicate if it's later on in the series or not. So for example, the one that I downloaded is Another Witch Bites the Dust by Carolyn writer Aspenson. This one has 272 ratings with an average of 4.45. However, this is book number 4 in the Holiday Hills Witch series. So I'm going to click on the series, Holiday Hills Witch, and I'm going to go to book number 1. And we'll give the synopsis. So book number 1 has 626 ratings with an average of 4.28. So, and book number 1 is titled There's a New Witch in Town. So this is the synopsis, and if I ever get to this one, then I'll definitely try to get the first book, obviously, first in this series. So, and read that. Where's the synopsis start? Here we go. Welcome to Holiday Hills, where the coffee's fresh and there's magic in the air. I have the perfect life. I recently rented the most adorable little apartment on top of my favorite bookstore / coffee shop on Main Street in Holiday Hills, the charmingest of charming small southern towns. I spend my days ghostwriting a cozy mystery series for a well-known author and maybe just a minute or two crushing on the town's police chief. But of course, I never let that cat out of the bag. I'm still reeling from my recent divorce, and no matter what my bestie says, I'm so not ready for anything in the romance department. Speaking of cats, my little Burmese Cooper follows me around like he's my guard dog. Thankfully, Holiday Hills is animal friendly. Everyone's got a cat or dog, and the crazy old woman on the block on the back end of town had the funniest talking parrot. Oh, that crazy old woman. She was a local celebrity, which was often trouble for her daughter. How do I know? Because that's me. I was the crazy old woman's daughter. The good news is everyone loved my mother, including me. The bad news is she recently died, and when she did, she opened a whole new world for me. One I'd always thought was fictional, the magical world. Now I have witchy powers, a talking cat, and a knack for finding dead bodies in my quaint little town. Ones that haven't died by accident. My name is Abby Odell, and I'm a witch. Who knew? I sure didn't. Thanks for that, Mom. There's a new witch in town. Oh, okay, there's a new witch in town. This is the first book in the series. So that actually sounds pretty good. I'm definitely going to want to get the first book. I don't know when I will get to it, but eventually. Okay. Moving on. I need a drink. Okay. We have Bed Bugged by Susan J. Susan J. Kroupa? 897 ratings with an average of 4.15. Again, Bed Bugged. This is book number 1 in the Doodle Bugged mystery series. This one says, Doodle's career change, and I do those air quotes when it's literally on quotations in there. So Doodle's career change lands him with a new family and unexpected trouble in this laugh out loud mystery perfect for dog lovers of all ages. Doodle's not worried about his new job. Sniffing out bed bugs? Easy as pie. Well, easier actually, as getting pie can be a problem for a dog. Doodle finds his best part. Oh, so this is from the dog's perspective. Doodle finds best part. What? Doodle finds best part of the new job is Molly, the boss's 10-year-old daughter who slips Doodle extra cheeks when she's not snapping photos with the camera she carries everywhere. But Molly has secrets of her own, and when she enlists Doodle's help to solve a crime, his nose and her camera lead them straight into danger. So this definitely sounds like this is from the dog's perspective, which will be interesting. I haven't read anything from a dog's perspective before, so we'll see how that goes. Up next, we have Death in the English Countryside. This is book number 1 in the Murder on Location series by Sara, Rosett. 4,714 ratings with an average of 3.91. And this one says, location scout and Jane Austen aficionado Cate Sharp is thrilled when the company she works for lands the job of finding locations for a new film adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. But then her boss Kevin fails to return home from a scouting trip to England. Afraid that Kevin has slipped back into some destructive personal habits he struggles with, Cate travels to England to salvage Kevin's and the company's reputation before word gets out that he is missing. Things go from bad to worse when Cate arrives in Nether Woodsmoor, a quaint village of golden stone cottages and rolling green hills, only to find no trace of Kevin except his abandoned luggage. Even the rumpled, easygoing local scout they consulted, Alex, doesn't know where Kevin might be. Increasingly worried about Kevin and with an antsy director waiting for updates about the production details, Cate embarks on a stretch that includes a pub crawl and cozy cottages as well as stately country manners. But Kevin remains missing, and she begins to suspect that the picturesque village and beautiful countryside may not be as idyllic as they seem. Well, yeah, kind of obvious. Up next, we have Apple Pie and Arsenic. This is book number 1 in Maple Lane Cozy Mystery Series, written by C.A. Catalog Apple, so C.A. Phipps. This one has 613 ratings with an average of 4.19. So this one says, Madeline Flynn thought that opening her bakery and winning the top prize for her apple pie at the Spring Festival would be the most excitement in her day. She wasn't expecting to find the dead body of her good friend beside her car to be accused of murder. Things like that just don't happen in small towns like Maple Falls. With nowhere else to turn, she enlists the help of her old flame, Sheriff Ethan Tanner, as well as her irrepressible Gran, to find the murderer before Maddie's put in jail or there's another death on their hands. Danger threatens at every turn, and when Maddie ends up on her own, scared and out of her depth, it seems that even the award-winning baker isn't safe from Maple Falls' first serial killer. So, sounds good. They all sound good. Okay. So, this next one, let's see. I have 27 on this list. I'm just curious, where are we? Number 9. So, moving along. Sweets and a Stabbing, written by Harper Lynn. This is book number 1 in the Pink Cupcake Mystery Series. 1,298 ratings with an average of 4.09. And this one says, after a messy divorce, 44-year-old Amelia Harley has taken back her maiden name and decided to sell homemade cupcakes out of a food truck. With the help of her 2 teenage kids and picking the name and color of her truck, pink of course, and using social media to help spread the word, Amelia is ready to roll in Food Truck Alley. However, a man is found stabbed to death in the dining area, and the young man from the burrito food truck next to Amelia's is arrested. Matthew is a big, tattooed former gang member, an obvious suspect, but Amelia believes he is innocent. Can Amelia save an innocent man? Can she make her food truck a success and make her children proud? Well, it says it's a novella, so good to know. Short book. Okay. Moving on, we have Charm School, book number 1 in the Witches 3 Cozy Mysteries series, written by Kate Martin. 569 ratings with an average of 4.11. This one says, Amanda Clark thinks of herself as perfectly ordinary in every way. Just a small-town girl who serves breakfast all day in a little diner nestled next to the highway. Nothing but dairy farms for miles around. She fits in there. But then an old woman she never met dies, and Amanda was named in her will. Now Amanda packs a bag and heads to the big city to Miss Zenobia Week's charm school for exceptional young ladies. And it's not in just any neighborhood. No, she finds herself on Summit Avenue in St. Paul, a street lined with gorgeous old houses. the former homes of lumber barons, railroad millionaires, and even the writer F. Scott Fitzgerald. Why Amanda can practically hear the jazz music still playing across the decades. Scratch that. The music really, literally still plays in the backyard of the charm school. Because the house stretches across time itself, without a witch to protect this tear in the fabric of the world, anything can spill over, like music or like murder. So, okay, definitely have fantasy stuff there. And I'm noticing that there's generally a bit of fantasy sprinkled into Cozy Mystery series. There's a lot with witches and witchcraft, so. All right, up next I have Digging Up Murder by Penny Brooke. This is book number 1 in the Garden Cove Library series. 343 ratings with an average of 4.4. And this one says, a quaint seaside New England town, a historic library, and a mystery to solve. Ellie Hockett returns to her hometown of Garden Cove, Massachusetts, just in time to help her librarian grandmother with last-minute preparations for the historic library's Halloween festivities. Determined to forget her recent past and start anew, she spends the rest of her free time doing something that always brought her joy, gardening. But when she makes a grisly discovery, her world is flipped upside down. It isn't until the local authorities point to her grandma as their #1 suspect that she needs her old friends and some new furry ones to help crack the case. There's a lot of animals in Cozy Mysteries. That's one thing I've noticed too. There's usually an animal companion of some kind. Can Ellie solve the mystery and clear her grandma's good name, or will she go too far and put her own life in jeopardy? Up next, I have Risky Bisqueness by Elizabeth Rain, book number 1 in Snips and Snails Cafe. 343 ratings with an average of 4.33. So this one says, said the spider to the fly, come on in, come on in. Said the fly and to the spider, lying is a sin and your intentions murder. Okay. Getting older shouldn't be a long downhill slide into obscurity. It should be the other half, the best half. There's some errors in this synopsis with like punctuation and weird stuff. That's what Julianne Mason told herself as she stared at herself in the mirror the morning after her 40th birthday. Husbandless, jobless, childless. Julene, I guess is her name. Julene Mason's ego has taken a beating. In the space of a day, she nearly burnt down the pizza parlor, lost her job, and walked in on her cheating rat of a husband. To top it all off, she's 40 and no one has noticed. With nothing to show for a lifetime of chasing the Joneses and trying to conform to everyone else's expectations but her own, Julie is more than ready for a change of lifestyle, but nobody ever told her that answering the summons to a strange letter would turn her entire life on a dime and challenge every notion she's ever had on what normal is. Add in a strange inheritance, an overbearing ghost, a snobbish talking cat, and a sentient recipe grimoire, sprinkle liberally with magic. And maybe even misfits like her deserve a second chance to get things right. But she'll need to solve her uncle's murder to learn to embrace her inner witchiness before she runs out of time and the killer strikes again. Makes me nervous that there's errors in the synopsis on Goodreads, but that hopefully will not reflect on the book in any way. I'm hoping that's just someone fat-fingering stuff, so to speak, in Goodreads. Up next is Finding Peace of Mind by Miranda Rose Barker. This is book number 1 in the Tansy and Hank series. 222 ratings with an average of 4.27. This one says, an eccentric aunt, a French bulldog, and heart-stopping intrigue, Finding Peace of Mind, the Pet Psychic Cozy Mystery Series prequel. Okay, so it's a prequel. After a car accident, Tansy Silver, an art student, was left with a constant buzzing in her head. Distressed and looking for help, she decides to visit her loving but eccentric Aunt Vivian and her French bulldog Hank in the small Appalachian town of Pine Ridge. Her holistic store, Peace of Mind, offers a plethora of herbs, herbal blends, and more. Tansy soon discovers she has a startling pet psychic animal communicator ability with Hank. And just when she starts to make new friends and learn how much more at home she feels in Pine Ridge, something totally unexpected happens. News that a 6-year-old boy is lost sets everyone looking frantically for him, as they should. They need to find this little boy before the sun sets and time is running out. Will they be able to find him before it's too late? So, missing child, so definitely be cautious of that. I know that will bother quite a bit of people. All right, so next I have I Dream of Witches. Every time I see that title, I think of I Dream of Jeannie. I remember watching that when I was little, home from kindergarten or before, with my mom. But I Dream of Witches by Sara Burgess, I'm guessing is how the last name is spelled. This is book number 1 in the Broomsticks and Books series. 301 ratings with an average of 4.33. And this one says, Daphne Alcott and her familiar, Dolly, return home to Shadow Woods after 4 exciting years at the Havenwood Academy for Brilliant Young Witches in Missouri. Her grandmother, Arbella, is excited to receive them and thrilled to finally get some help at the family's business, the Bright Light Bookstore. In coming back home, she's reminded of the importance of family. Her older brother, Matthew, is glad to see her return. However, he's still reluctant to accept her friendship with heiress Elizabeth Evanston. Despite his differences with the rich Evanston girl, Matthew shares one thing in common with her. They both love Daphne to pieces. With advanced spellcasting skills and a newfound love for photography, Daphne is thrilled to start a new chapter in Shadow Woods. However, things soon turn upside down when she's snapping photos of the lake with Dolly, and they find the body of a drowned young woman a few days back in her hometown, and she's already entangled in a murder investigation. Daphne didn't do anything wrong. After all, she didn't even know the woman. Amidst the calamity and confusion, Daphne begins to have a crush on the fresh-faced history professor who keeps stopping by her bookstore. He's immortal, so she's convinced nothing will ever work between them. But a tiny flicker of hope remains in her mind. It doesn't take long for Daphne to start unraveling the truth behind what happened at the lake. The revelations began a domino effect that makes her question what truly happened to her parents, who disappeared nearly 2 decades ago. They were dead. Grandma Arabella always said so. However, she might not be so sure anymore. So maybe what was once thought dead is actually alive. What that sounds like. Next up, this one unfortunately does not have a synopsis on Goodreads, so I will tell you that according to Goodreads, this one is titled The Sweet Scent of Death. This is a cozy mystery in Manhattan. I'm assuming it's the first one. That's what it looked like on the email. That's what it looks like here. And this one says it is by Lesley St. James, 38 ratings with an average of 4.53. Now, switching over to the synopsis on Amazon, let me scroll up. It does say this is book number 1, and it's actually, the series is called the Jill Cooksey Mystery Series, at least according to Amazon. Okay, the synopsis reads, her job is on the line, and a dead body isn't helping. Well, of course that's not going to help. Unless you're in the business of dealing with dead bodies, then maybe. But if you're not supposedly in that business, of course it's not going to help. Jill Cooksey is feeling the pressure. With her public relations career stinking like yesterday's garbage, she has one more chance to prove herself by launching a new perfume. But just as everything starts to come up roses, an actress is murdered behind the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. Jill's PR campaign begins to crumble when the perfume spokesmodel is named the prime suspect. But Jill smells a rat. Now her clients are fighting. Her spokesmodel is infamous, and someone is stalking her. Can Jill stop a killer while turning around a public relations disaster? So, there you go. Alrighty, moving on. We have The Witch Who Couldn't Spell by Cate Penryn. This is book number 1 in the Mackenzie Munro series. I'm sure I said that wrong. 541 ratings with an average of 4.25. Okay, this one says, Mackenzie's a new witch in a new town. So that's the character's name, and I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Her long-lost mother's been locked up for murder. What should she do? Find the real killer, however dangerous that may be. So far, Mackenzie's done well. Despite her reading disability, she's qualified as a lawyer in London and raised her 2 brothers on her own, but she doesn't have the skills to hunt down a murderer. True, Mackenzie's a witch. I keep thinking I'm saying that wrong. So I'm sorry if I am and you know what it's supposed to say or sound like, but I'm just going with what it looks like. True, Mackenzie's a white witch, so she could use magic, and she does have her mother's book of spells, but she's hit a stumbling block. Try as she may, Mackenzie cannot decipher the grimoire's medieval script. She needs help desperately if she's to save her mother from a life in prison. Now, what I'm wondering is why it says that she's a white witch. What the heck does that have to do with anything? A witch is a witch, in my mind. So, we will see. With the High Council of the Guild of White Witches, will the High Council of the Guild of White Witches listen to her plea and allow her an assistant in time to free her mother? An assistant with supernatural powers of their own. So I'm wondering if it doesn't have to do with race, but maybe like a white witch is someone that deals with white magic or good magic, because black magic is evil or dark magic. And then maybe they would be called a black witch. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what develops with that book. But that does leave me with a lot of questions. Okay. Moving on is Death Rides the Zephyr, or the Zephyr? Zephyr, I think is what it is. The Zephyr. Death Rides the Zephyr. This is book number 1 in the Jill McLeod California Zephyr series, written by Janet Dawson. Okay, so next I have Death Rides the Zephyr. This is book number 1 in the Jill McLeod California Zephyr series, written by Janet Dawson. This one has 195 ratings with an average of 3.87. And this one says, a cold-blooded killer, a cold, remote canyon. The cold body of a murdered passenger slumped in a seat aboard a train moving on tracks next to an ice-bound river. Oh, heck, I'm going to have the hard time with this word or name. Zephyr. Jill McLeod rides the California Zephyr on its runs between the Bay Area and Chicago. As a crew member, she spends her long working days seeing to the passengers' needs, answering questions and taking dinner reservations or providing first aid. She makes announcements about the spectacular scenery visible from the train's Vista Dome with its 360-degree views. The train is a small city on tracks with passengers from all walks of life and a large, efficient crew. Jill is armed with good instincts, power of observation, and her keen knowledge of human nature. She can usually solve any problem. But she wasn't counting on a missing passenger and a body in a sleeper car. The killer is on board and will kill again unless stopped. So, okay. Okay, so next I can see right off from the synopsis, this is definitely an older character. Usually with adult books I'm seeing they're in their 20s, sometimes in their 30s. Not so much in their 30s. It seems as the older the character gets, the more common that dips, the less common it gets. This one is called Post-Op and Potions by Amorette Anderson. This is number 1 in Midlife Medicine. 582 ratings with an average of 4.31. So this one's, and this is an older character because this is what it says. On her 50th birthday, so older character, on her 50th birthday, Grace uttered a plea to the universe. As the saying goes, be careful what you wish for. For the first time in years, traveling nurse Grace Littleton is out of work. Her on-again, off-again boyfriend is with a younger woman, and her only son has just jetted off to Europe. Alone, unemployed, and unsatisfied, Grace is on a search for something more. A magical village in the Vermont countryside seems to hold some answers, and a few major problems to boot. Hypnotized squirrels attack an elderly gentleman in town. Okay. Who brainwashed the critters? Then, and that's literally in there. That's not my mind. That's in there. Then there's the devilishly handsome bookstore owner who won't give Grace the time of day. With her pit bull Lucky at her side, Grace tackles the problems one by one, not because she wants to, but because she really has no other options. For Grace, the end of the line is Covenstead, Vermont. Hypnotized squirrels. That's a bit interesting sounding. All right, moving on, we have Dead in the Water. If this is part of a series, it doesn't tell me what this... Oh, here it is. It's on the cover. I just had to scroll down fast enough. Book 1 in the Bucket List Mystery Series. This was written by S.C. like Scary Cat, S.C. Merritt. 143 ratings with an average of 4.57. This one says, they say opposites attract. The only thing these two unlikely friends seem to be a magnet for is murder. When Macy Mitchell sold her restaurant and retired to sunny Florida, she couldn't wait to get out of the kitchen and do absolutely nothing except enjoy lazy days by the pool. 35 years with the Chicago Police Department was enough for Detective Donna Pineta, I'm guessing. She was ready to escape the daily stress of big city crime and retire under a palm tree with a tall glass of something cold and a little paper umbrella. But as these two friends soon find out, retirement can get a little, shall we say, tiring. Sometimes you just need a vacation from your vacation. Macy and Dot concoct an exciting plan of hitting all the destinations on their bucket lists. But when the dead body of handsome recreation director Mason Jacobs is discovered floating in their own little piece of paradise, chaos ensues. Macy and Dot's plan for adventure gets shoved to the back burner when a good friend tops the suspect list and Dot jumps back into detective mode, dragging Macy along with her. With a millionaire, an aging beauty queen, and a jealous husband among the list of suspects, can they expose the real killer and clear their friend's name? Or will their first road trip be to the prison on Visitor's Day? So, there we go. Sounds pretty good. They all sound good to me. I just love cozy mysteries. Okay. Next, I have Digging Up Bones. This is book number 1 in the Birdwell, Texas Mystery Series by Amy Gilchrist. 321 ratings with an average of 4.02. See what I'm saying? These all have like a high 3.8-ish, 3.8, high 3-star to a low 4-star. So yeah, cozy mysteries have really good ratings. And they are just really entertaining, I think. Okay, the synopsis reads... let's see. Okay. Helen Harding is a genius at picking losers. Her exes run the gamut I think it's called gamut. Her exes run the gamut from merely lazy to legitimately criminal, making all the stops in between. After her fourth and absolutely final fiancé is carted off to prison for making time with the underage honeys, Helen is mortified and desperate to get out of town. The perfect solution seems to be a last-minute call to arms from her Aunt Penny, a beer-swigging chain smoker from backwoods Texas who has 3-inch press-on nails, a love of men from truck stops, and a life-or-death problem that unfortunately ends in death before Helen even has the chance to arrive. Helen believes in atonement, or maybe it's revenge. Either way, she owes it to Penny to find out who ended her life in violence. Much to the annoyance of the local volunteer sheriff, Odegan McFarley, who Helen is most definitely not getting involved with, no matter how hot he may look in his fitted suit and polished wingtips. In other words, she'll get involved with him. That's generally the tip-off. With or without his help, Helen vows to track a trail of suspects who may have more than one foul deed to account for. As the days drag on, the nights heat up and the danger grows closer. If Helen isn't careful, she may end up 6 feet under and the latest casualty of the Birdwell, Texas. So, beer swigging, chain smoking ant. Love it. Okay. All right, so next I have Mind Your Own Murder by Patti Larsen. This is book number 1 in Persephone Pringle Cozy Mystery Series. 1,515 ratings with an average of 3.98. All right. Persephone Pringle is 50, another older protagonist. Okay, Persephone Pringle is 50, newly and happily divorced, and on a private month-long retreat to find herself again. But when both sets of neighbors at her rented cottage on the ocean can't seem to keep their personal lives out of hers, she's about to pack up and leave. Problem is, finding a body on the beach means the local sheriff would rather she stick around since she's the prime suspect. Can she solve the murder without her nosy FBI agent ex-husband and worrywart daughter making matters worse? Okay, so this next book is on Goodreads, does not have a synopsis. That's actually really annoying. But on Goodreads, it has 41 ratings with an average of 4.37. This is Call Me Ghostly, a Witch's Cove Whodunit Mystery Series by Vella Day. Now, switching over to Amazon, this one, let's see, it says, okay, so the name of the series is called A Voodoo and Vampire Mystery Series. And let's see, scrolling down. Okay. Whoop, too far. A witch, the granddaughter of a voodoo priestess, and a vampire walk into a bar. Only kidding. They are on a cruise to Mexico, but that's not the important part. What is important is that when someone is murdered, the cruise turns into a ghostly whodunit. Hi, I'm Rihanna Samuels, a 19-year-old mind reader from Witches Cove, Florida. Not to brag, but I received my first photo gig aboard a 55-passenger yacht for Valentine's week to Mexico. Can you say excited? Everything is perfect until I met my roommate, some super rich, tattooed girl from New Orleans who seems to hate life. Yay me. Believe it or not, things go from bad to worse when I find a dead body in our cabin. And that is only the beginning of the strange events that unfold. I'd give you a hint, but I don't want to spoil it. Who the murderer is, I don't know, but solving a crime isn't new to me. Unfortunately, this isn't an ordinary case. After all, the murderer is still on board. All I know is that I'm going to need a lot of help to figure out who did it. Wish me luck. I tend to really like it when it's told from the perspective of the main protagonist, of like this one just was, rather than an overall synopsis. So this one's more in first person is the word I'm looking for, rather than third person. I tend to like that with the synopsis. It tends to heighten my intrigue just a little bit more. Okay, so next I have Death by Suspenders by Lania C. Turner, I'm guessing. This is number 1 in the Spencer University series. This has 245 ratings with an average of 3.91. The exciting first day of school turns to murder. Olivia and Polly get to Spencer University ready for the first day of fall classes. They are excited about meeting new students and kicking off a fantastic year when instead, one of their co-workers, David, is found hanging in the academic building. David wasn't always the most well-liked colleague, but Olivia and Polly can't even imagine who would kill him. Is one of their co-workers a murderer? If so, was campus safe, or should they be worried about what might happen the next time there was a difference of opinion at a faculty meeting? So, there you go. Alrighty, moving right along, we have At the Scent of the Crime. This is book number 1 in the Wicked Wick Mystery Series by Melrose McFadden. 90 ratings, 90, with an average of 4.18. This one says, Childhood friends Leigh Hill and Paloma Finch left their high-pressure big city jobs left their high-pressure city jobs to pursue a quieter life running the Wicked Wick candle shop in the small town of Fall Haven. Rumors about a giant chain warehouse store moving to town have the mom-and-pop business owners on edge, but the community is stringing up lights, baking pies, and setting up booths in the town square to sell their wares at the annual winter festival. But when a prominent local business person winds up dead in the middle of the festival grounds, Leigh and Paloma realize their little hamlet isn't as quiet and innocent as they had hoped. Plenty of people have a lot to lose if the megastore comes to town, but are any of them angry enough to kill? The ladies of Wicked Wick must sniff around for clues and solve the crime before their business or their lives are snuffed out. Okay, next. This is another one with no synopsis on Goodreads. So, it is the Heron Heights Homicide, written by Nikki Hensley. On Goodreads, this only has 5 ratings with an average of 4.2. So switching over to Amazon, it says this is book number 1 in Luna's Lunchette Cozy Mystery Series. And does this have... So there's 6 ratings on Amazon, and it's like a 4.2 something looking star rating. So still a higher rating, but not a lot of ratings. So this one says, a dead body is never good for business. Think again, unless you're in the business of dead bodies. Like a morgue. Okay. The exclusive Heron Heights subdivision of Pine View has the best of everything to offer. Magnificent mountain views, luxury mountains, countless amenities, gated security, a mysterious dead body. A frosty Rocky Mountain winter is in full swing. Luna Beasley, Pineview local and beloved owner of Luna's Lunchette, the area's favorite lunch destination, unexpectedly finds herself solving more than menu problems when she winds up in the middle of a murder mystery. Stumbling upon a dead man is only the first shock of the week. Unbeknownst to her, a new detective has rolled into town, and he's a man Luna could never forget. Cole Preston was her brother's best friend and the boy of Luna's childhood dreams. But that was all just a silly juvenile crush. At age 29, she's outgrown those feelings. You're right. She's determined to solve the murder and prove her investigative prowess to the new detective. Luna's heart rate does seem to involuntarily speed up in Detective Preston's presence, but surely that's a mere coincidence. Yeah, again, yeah, right. That's my thinking. Okay, we are on the final 2 books. Now this one, I am going to say, let me open this in a new tab here. Did that not, there it goes. Okay. Okay, so this book is called T is for Trouble, like the drink tea, not the letter, but the drink, T-E-A. T is for Trouble. This is the book number 1 in the Haunted Tea Room series, written by Karen Sue Walker. 415 ratings with an average of 4.39. Now, sometimes with these emails that I get to say what books are free, sometimes you get a box set. I've received anywhere from like 2 books to 8 books. I think the longest one I got was 8 books in the series, and I think it was a whole series that was for free. This one, there's more, I think there's more than 3. There's 7 total primary works, but the first 3 books were free, and they all came together. So, book number 1, as I said, is T for Trouble. Number 2 is T for Toxin, or T is for Toxin, and it's all tea like you drink, not the letter. And then book number 3 is T is for Tragedy. So I'm only going to be reading the synopsis for T is for Trouble, so as to not to spoil anything. And okay, the synopsis reads, a new life complete with tea, scones, and murder. And let's not forget the ghost. When your fiance ditches you and your mother passes away, what do you do? If you're April May, you buy a huge Victorian home on a whim and open a tea room featuring lace tablecloths, exotic teas, and dainty sandwiches. No one told her the house came with a cat in the attic who might just be guarding a treasure. How else to explain people breaking into her house? From the moment she moves in, nothing goes right, but her problems seem minor when a dead body turns up in her home. Accused of murder, April teams up with a cankerous bar owner and a feisty young antiques expert to solve the crime. And what about the handsome, arrogant chef in her kitchen who no one else can see? She plans to get medical help for what must be a hallucination, but in the meantime, he's putting a tasty French twist on her menu. If you ever wished someone could remake The Ghost and Mrs. Muir as a culinary murder mystery, this is the book for you. And I've never heard of The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, so... Okay, last up in this particular video is Penance on the Prairies by R.L. Syme, I'm guessing. This is number 1 in the Vanjie Vale Mystery series, and I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. 326 ratings with an average of 4.1. And this one says, 1 part vicar of Dibley, 1 part amateur sleuth who loves pastries, set in the mountains of Montana where no one's business is her own. Between the police scanners, the coffee ladies, and the senior center, no secret is safe for long. But Vanjie Vale wants nothing more than to stay under the radar, especially the police radar. So when her new business is linked to a murder investigation, nothing will stop the gossip mill from connecting to the dead body. Can't have that. In order to clear her good name and keep her face off the front page, this part-time baker, part-time pastor becomes extra nosy, with a little side of breaking and entering. But when she comes face-to-face with the sheriff, Vanjie can't ignore the fact that one of her macaroons was involved in a murder. She has to find the real murderer. And that's what that says. So that's it for this video. These are all Cozy Mystery series that were free on Amazon. I don't know. I'll list the title and the authors in the description box. A lot of these were already included in Kindle Unlimited. So if these sound good to you and you have Kindle Unlimited, as long as they're still there, then you obviously have access to them. I don't know if these are still going to be free on Amazon by the time you are seeing this video, but the price does fluctuate and change. Sometimes I've seen the price change on books like this, go from free to $15 down to $3, and so it's just to 99 cents. So you just have to keep an eye on it, and then you just get it when you like the price, basically, or when you're so intrigued that you want the book and the price doesn't matter. Whatever works for you. So again, that is it for this video. All Cozy Mysteries. Hopefully some of these were put on your radar. Let me know if any of these sounded particularly interesting for you, and if there's something that you're going to check out from this list. So I love hearing new books like this and new authors, and these are just more books on my radar, more books I want to read that I'll never get to all of these books in my lifetime because there's just so many books to read, these and romance and horror and everything. So many books out there in the world. But anyway, I enjoy doing these, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So talk to me in the comments section below, and until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book, and I'll talk to you later.